Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10. From July 4th through August 26th, if you use this promo code, you will automatically be entered into a drawing to win a set of all 4 Commander 2019 decks. Also, there is another way to enter where no purchase is necessary. See the description below for full details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to this special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This is our July 2019 Picks of the Month video, so if you're not familiar with this series, just one reminder. We do one of these every month, and this particular video will go out to gold patrons first, so by the time you see this on YouTube, it could be about 24 to 48 hours later. Prices could have shifted a little bit, although I'm not anticipating a lot of changes with the cards we're talking about today. Before we get into the cards I chose for this month, though, I do want to quickly outline the purpose of this video. It seems to cause a lot of confusion every month. First, I want to say this is not a strategy video. I'm not necessarily talking about the best Magic cards. I'm talking about cards that could be poised to go up in value relatively soon, maybe over the course of a number of months or so. The second thing I want to make clear is this is not about getting rich quick. I'm not picking cards that I think are going to double in price overnight or anything like that. This isn't something where you're going to see these cards and want to go out there and buy like 50 copies of each. This video is really about people maybe put off some purchases because they figure, okay, I want this card, but I'm going to pick it up later. This is a nice reminder to kind of say, you know what, there's a chance this could be going up in value pretty soon, so you might want to move it up on your priority list. All right, let's get into it. First, we have Karn Liberated, and you can see here 3 different copies of Karn. We're not talking about foils today, so these are just regular copies. $64.75 being the cheapest one from New Phyrexia, the original, believe it or not, going up through Modern Masters 2015, $69.18. That's very weird because typically Modern Masters 2015 is the one that is the cheapest, but at least for right now, this snapshot in time, here's your prices. Now, the reason I think Karn Liberated is a good pickup, even at this price point, is because this was a card that was more expensive for a very long time. Most recently, the Ultimate Masters reprint did calm this card's price down a little bit, but it still sees a ton of play because it's a key card in Tron. And as a matter of fact, Mono Green Tron had an amazing weekend last weekend, winning the Pro Tour, for example, also winning the Modern Star City Games Open. So that's pretty crazy. And a lot of those decks, of course, run 4 Karn Liberateds. Even though you don't see Karn in a lot of other modern decks typically, just being a key part of that deck is enough to perhaps move the price point on this card in the coming months, as long as it doesn't get reprinted again. And that's the thing, you never know. Wizards has a lot of products coming out. At any time, you could see more reprints. However, with this being reprinted in Ultimate Masters less than a year ago at this point, probably will be a while before we see it again, but you never know. Rest in Peace is the next card I wanted to point out as we continue on in Color Pie order here. Now, you can get a very recent copy of this card from Signature Spellbook Gideon for $6.50. Also has pretty unique art, as you can see there. Or you can go with the original copy for $8.88, or right now the Masters 25 copy is at $10.40. Now, the reason I think this card is a good pickup, especially if you happen to grab it for about $6.50, is just simply because of all the things going on right now in Modern when it comes to cards that are interacting with the graveyard. Obviously, Hogak's a concern right now in those decks, but even classic Dredge decks, Is It Phoenix, these are all cards that are going to utilize the graveyard, and all cards that can be slowed down by Rest in Peace. Now, maybe there's a better option, which we're going to talk about later in the video, but some decks will be happy to have this. As a matter of fact, this sees a lot of Modern sideboard play, and even a little bit of Legacy sideboard play sometimes. Now, you might be concerned because there's a recent reprinting of this, and yeah, maybe it does stay soft a little bit because of that. However, I do think $6.50 is relatively cheap for the reprinting, and I do think it will stabilize relatively quickly and then start creeping up. Remember, that's from a specialty product and not a standard set. Cryptic Commands. All right, now all these cards are around $30 right now. This card has been reprinted 3 times since it came out in Lorwyn. And yeah, even with all these printings, it's still not a cheap card. But if it doesn't get another reprinting within the next year or so, I could see this going up maybe to $35, maybe even pushing $40. It just kind of depends on where metas go. This is a Modern Control staple, though. This is definitely a card that is going to continue to see play in the Modern format pretty much forever. So if you don't have copies, I don't think this is a horrible price point by any means. Dead of Winter. Okay, doing something a little different here with a newer card from Modern Horizons, $1.55, also a very cheap pickup. So the reason I went with this one is, yes, more packs of Modern Horizons will be opened in the coming months, and this card might not move up right away. Maybe it even goes down a little more. But for this price, I don't think you can go wrong. just simply because here you have a card that's a rare that is already showing up in some sideboards in Modern and Legacy, as a matter of fact. And over time, as we get more snow cards, and it might not happen next year, might not even happen the year after, but at some point, Wizards is going to go back to the snow mechanic in some product somewhere, and you're going to get more cards that are going to be relevant with this. This card can only get better when that happens. So I think for the price here, yeah, I'd grab a playset. Fatal Push, $3.55 from Aether Revolt. Now, there's a lot of copies of this card out there, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, there's a lot of copies of this card being played in competitive formats. Modern and Legacy, you see it quite a bit. Some of the huge decks right now in Modern, things like the Hogak builds, Jund, Urzathopter Sword, and a lot more, they're all running this. I'm sure this will be reprinted at some point, I have no doubt, but considering the Revolt mechanic is attached to it, most likely it will have to be in some kind of supplemental product, which means it won't get pushed out there in the numbers that it would be in a standard set, for example. Who knows, maybe next week when we look at Commander 2019 previews, this card will show up, and of course then it will go down in value. But if it doesn't show up there, yeah, I do think it will continue to climb over time. Leyline of the Void. Okay, here's the card I was alluding to earlier. Another fantastic piece of sideboard tech against these cards that are interacting with the graveyard. Probably the best one out there when it comes to Modern. This even sees a little bit of vintage play too. Now, the cheaper one from Core Set 2020 right now is only $16.45. The original one from Guild Pack, $45, and then Magic 2011 kind of sits in the middle at $29.76. So there are 3 different pieces of art here, so I don't know, maybe choose the one that you like the best, but there is a pretty big range in prices as well. Although that could lead to the Guild Pack price softening up a little soon. Now, the other thing you need to remember is Core Set 2020 just came out. It is a standard set. This thing is a rare, not a mythic rare. So there's a lot of copies still being put into the marketplace right now as people open packs. With that in mind, though, this is such a key card in Modern that I do think it will stabilize quickly. There are even builds just main decking this right now because of the metagame. Now, I wouldn't necessarily pull the trigger on this one today. I would just watch it really closely, kind of see where the price goes, wait to see when it stabilizes, where it stabilizes, and then maybe make the purchase at that point. But this is a card if you don't own in your collection and don't have a playset of, you probably want to have one. Thoughtseize, another huge Modern card, also see some Legacy play. You're going to find this in the big decks right now in the Modern format, though. Hogak, Jund, Urzathopter Sword, Dredge, and more. Now, you can see there's a little bit of a range in prices here, too. The Theros one, $14.96, going up to the Lorwyn one at $23.71. Iconic Masters, again, kind of in the middle here at $17.94. The artwork is different for the Theros one. I don't really think that's the reason it's cheaper, though. I guess if I play the Fairy deck, I might want the original art. Other than that, it's going to be a matter of opinion. But I will say this, the Theros copy had a lot of copies printed when you compare them to Lorwyn or Iconic Masters even. That's most likely the reason it's a little softer. Now, you never know with reprints, of course, like I've said before. If this does get reprinted, it will lose more value. If you are looking for a version of the card that will hold its value the best, go with the original Lorwyn one. Arclight Phoenix, $20.50. Okay, this is a weird one. Typically, I would not recommend a card in Standard at $20 as something you might want to think about picking up. But this one is very different because of the play it sees in Modern. Very successful card there, and is it Phoenix, Mono Red Phoenix, as well as Gruul Phoenix now. And you gotta consider this, if the Hogak deck takes a banning right now and gets diluted a little bit, then as long as the card banned isn't also in the Phoenix decks, the Phoenix decks, Is It Phoenix in particular, would become the top Modern decks. So that is something to consider definitely. Now, with that being said, there are other things that you want to remember about this card that make it a little softer. Yes, it is standard legal. When it does rotate out, which won't happen this fall, but it will happen a year later, you will see a price dip. The question is, what will the price be at when it does dip? When it comes to standard playability, Is It Phoenix is a great deck, still can put up a nice result. Not as popular as it was in previous seasons, but you never know, it could come back around again, especially post-rotation, so standard players are going to hang on to their copies. Next summer is when you'll start to see a price dip a little bit. But like I said, at that point, who knows what the price point will be at. Now, for further consideration, there was also a copy of this in the Arcane Tempo Challenger deck, which means there's more copies out there than your average Mythic Rare from Guilds of Ravnica. Actually, a lot more copies. So that has made the card a little softer than it could have been, but it's still at $20, $21. That's pretty amazing. Next is another card from Modern Horizons. It's Force of Vigor, $6.03. Again, a rare from a set that is still being opened, so consider that. But this is a fantastic sideboard card in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Over time, after it does stabilize, it will continue to climb until it eventually sees a reprint. Tarmogoyf. Yep, I picked Tarmogoyf as a card that is undervalued right now, believe it or not. Maybe not the Future Sight copy, $81.93. That's still really expensive. That is the hardest to find copy, though, in good condition, and of course it has the unique look from Future Sight, so there you go. That's always going to be an expensive card. But look at the other four. Sitting around $50, still a lot of money, but a better price than we have seen in the past. So if you want a copy, maybe you want to play some Modern Jund, maybe you want to play some Legacy 4-color Delver, maybe you want to play some Vintage Sultai midrange. Yeah, you know what? I don't think you can go wrong at $50. It's not going to come down that much more. And for the reasons I just mentioned, those three decks are three very popular decks in those three formats, and the C's playing other popular decks too. Now, could it be reprinted again? Of course it could. We just don't know when. I will say this though. At this point, the card has been printed 4 times in master sets. It's been a mythic every time, and that has kept it from really flooding the market, but it did keep the price in check for sure. Now, Wizards is going to put out more sets kind of like this, I'm sure. They're not going to be called master sets, I suppose, but there will be supplemental products with reprints. Having this reprinted so often and actually so recently, Ultimate Masters just being less than a year ago, I do think it might be a little while before we see Goyf again, but we will see Goyf again. Urza Academy Headmaster, $3.81. Now, this one's kind of an offbeat pick. Let me tell you what I'm thinking here. This is still very cheap. It's a silver border card from Unstable, so it doesn't have a lot of homes when it comes to places you can legally play it, which has kept the price down. But I think there's a few things to take into consideration here. First off, this is a tough card to reprint. There's not a lot of places you can do that, right? Secondly, it is unique. It's different. Some people might want it in their collection. Some people might just want to play casually with it, maybe put it in a casual cube with other silver bordered cards, things like that. The other thing I'm thinking, though, is there was a lot of backlash when it comes to the rules committee in their last set of bannings for Commander. And yes, they do say, and they make it very clear, that you can play any cards you want in Commander, whatever your play group agrees on, you can play with, make your own ban list, play with silver bordered cards if you want to. But I do think there might be more of a trend towards that in the future. And who knows, maybe at some point the rules committee might even give up their control over the format, give it to Wizards. Who knows, Wizards could completely change things and say silver bordered cards are legal, or at least certain ones are legal. That's a big step. That's a big speculation there, right? Perhaps none of that happens. Now, here's another interesting tidbit. I went to the Ask Urza website, and you know what? It's no longer functioning. What they do instead is they have a PDF of all the choices for each one of those, the +1, -1, and the -6, and it says that you can select the one you want. Wow, okay, so that actually makes the card a lot better because before it was random. Now, I don't know if they're going to continue to update that PDF. Probably not. It looked pretty finalized to me. I've not seen any official information from Wizards on this change. It hasn't been updated in Gather or anything like that. Maybe it will change back, who knows, but something to keep an eye on. Just another thing to consider when it comes to this card. Pauper players, I got one for you, and it's not Oubliette, although Oubliette's never a bad card to pick up, I don't think. This one is Ash Barrens. You can see here they range from 320 to 327. The Commander Anthology Volume 2 and Masters 25 copies are both at 327 right now, actually. This is just a Pauper staple, and if you're thinking about getting into the format, this could be a good place for you to start. Now, something to consider. I might not pick this card up this week. I might just wait and see what's coming in Commander 2019. This could get reprinted there, and then the price would go down. But regardless, at some point, I would grab some copies of this card. More and more people are playing Pauper, and I do think that format will continue to grow. With the changes that happened recently, adding all those new cards to the format, that has sparked a lot of people's interest, myself included. So this is a card that you want to keep an eye on, if nothing else. All right, that does it for my picks of the month for July. Now, let me know in the comments below some cards maybe you're thinking of picking up or other cards you think could be going up in value soon. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.